In today's video, we're going to be having a conversation about what's going on in the Pokemon market right now. But before we jump into it, as always, we do weekly giveaways. All you have to do to enter is leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. But jumping into it, obviously, if you guys don't know, I've been gone for a while, so there's a lot to catch up on, and a lot of people have been asking me on my opinion of what's going on right now in the Pokemon market. So today, I'm going to be breaking down a lot of the potential big plays I see that could happen in the future, as well as kind of a little bit of what I missed and going through and dissecting what I think the future is going to look like for some of the moves that happened while I was gone. Taking a first look, we're going to go over some of the Scarlet and Violet booster boxes, starting with base set. If you go and take a look at base set prices right now, they're in the low 80s on TCG Player. It wouldn't be surprising to me if we saw it sometime in the mid 7s. I mean, right now, the prices for these booster boxes are absolutely crashing. The absolute hate for Scarlet and Violet is at an all-time high. I think that you can justify some of it, but I think a lot of it is really overblown. Obviously, with any new set or any new generation, I should say, you're going to have your first couple of sets that are not going to be the best performing. They're going to kind of feel lackluster, but ultimately that shouldn't cause an entire shift, an entire looming, feeling in the market that everything is, this is it. This is the end. The world is over. Scarlet and Violet's a bust. But as we know with Pokemon, and more particularly Pokemon Twitter, people like to be hyperbolic when taking a look and making predictions on things. Now, do I think necessarily that this is going to bottom out anytime soon? Like I said, $75 is not that far out of the realm of possibility, but still $80 is a really good price if you're trying to just add one to your collection long term. But for me, I think this is just going to be an overall theme with Scarlet and Violet for at least another 6 months to a year, depending on what happens within the economy, because people are just overall pessimistic. Money is a lot tighter these days with people's wallets. Inflation is still running rampant, and when you have sets that aren't absolute bangers, then people are going to pass on them because they only want to spend their money on items that they're going to find to be the most affordable for the quality of content inside the boxes. Base set, it's not one of those items that people want. Prices are going to crash. Interesting enough, you saw the same thing happen with the next two sets within Scarlet and Violet. Moving on to Paldea, which is in the low 90s. It's actually one of the better performing, which is so sad to say because the new wholesale price for booster boxes is $95.50 to around $100 depending upon distributor. So it's holding up better than some of the other Scarlet and Violet booster boxes, but that's not saying much because it's still under wholesale. I think this is honestly a sleeper set. There's some amazing art designs. I know that obviously right now everyone's looking at the new generation and saying, well, there's anything of value in my opinion because I want big hitter characters, nostalgic characters. But I think if you take appreciation for the artwork, you're going to see a lot of these cards, just as the Chimpao, that are going to perform really well long term. I think the set is going to be looked back on, and the hate for it is kind of gonna disappear. I mean, something like Shining Legends, for example, obviously this is an entirely different set because it was a shiny set. It did have OG characters in particular, but the general sentiment when it first came out, very negative. People didn't really care about it, and then all of a sudden, people look back on it because it now becomes nostalgic as this amazing set. I wouldn't be surprised if you had a similar feel towards Paldea because there is a ton of amazing art designs. You've got the amazing waifu card with the Iono and multiple other amazing SIRs. On top of that, you also have a cool art design with the Magikarp and the Tyranitar character rares. Obsidian, I'm going to kind of pass on this one a little bit. It's sitting in the mid 90s to high 90s. Only reason why it's holding up so well is because it's the newest booster box of Scarlet and Violet, so it hasn't had as much time to go down. But this one, I just can't talk about how much I hate it enough. It's the next Charizard set after a long string of Charizard sets after every new generation, as we saw Darkness Ablaze with Sword and Shield, Burning Shadows with Sun and Moon, XY we had Flash Fire. Just first three sets, one of them is always going to have a Charizard in it and nothing typically else within it. And I think this set is kind of bad. Will it do good long term? Will you probably at some point be able to pick it up for low 9s, high 80s? Yeah, I totally wouldn't be surprised by that. And would it be bad of you to pick it up? I don't think so, because it is a Charizard set, but it's one that I'm not a big fan of just because there's nothing really surrounding it, and it wouldn't surprise me if there were going to be other things that you could potentially pick up with more value. Speaking of Charizards, Ultra Premium Collection Charizard, I know this is something probably new to people or people haven't been paying attention to, but I wanted to kind of direct everyone's attention to it. The price right now has gone up about 10 to 15 bucks in the past week. So not saying that this is a confirmed breakout, but this is some price action on this item that we haven't seen at all since it absolutely got reprinted into the ground. I think that it's entirely possible that this could be the start of a new trend, as a lot of people have been super duper into 151 right now. It's an amazing performing set. 151 Elite Trainer boxes are at or above MSRP right now. You take a look at the UPCs, they're at around MSRP, maybe slightly lower, but that's still some pretty good signs. And I feel like it's got people feeling nostalgic, which is so weird to say because UPCs are only a year old, but you know, time is time, and people are looking back on the Charizards and they're saying to themselves, man, this is actually a pretty nice item that I might want to add to my collection. There's other possible reasons that we'll discuss further as to why other people are picking it up, but I just wanted to draw everyone's attention to it because it is an item that I personally like. I'm a big fan of it, and I think it's going to do really well long term. 120 is the MSRP. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, but if you're still able to pick it up for the low 100s long term, it could still be a really good play if we do see some continued price action. Going back to 151 and talking about that a little bit further, this set has been absolutely amazing. I know a lot of people have been looking at the set and saying, should I buy now? Should I wait, Eli? Obviously, prices have held up pretty strong. And what I'm going to tell you guys is the same thing that I've been preaching for the longest time, which is wait till Black Friday. Black Friday is coming right around the corner. We're about a month and a half away. And when it does end up coming, you're going to see a lot of these items go on flash sale. Not to mention, I've been talking with my distributors. There is confirmation that we're going to be getting a reprint for the Ultra Premium collections, or rather than say a reprint, we're going to be getting a second wave. So be on the lookout for that if you are interested in that. Would not surprise me if 151 ETBs also did get a small restock, or at some point a second wave to appear. So I think being patient is going to be the name of the game. With that, it's an amazing set. I think it's going to perform really well long term. I'm going to be holding on to some, and I think you should too. Speaking of Black Friday, if you actually want to be able to have Black Friday be an everyday thing and not just after Thanksgiving, I highly recommend you join our Patreon program. Link is down in the description below if you want to get access to wholesale prices on Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Flesh and Blood, and so much more. Learn the many ways of how you're going to be able to make some side cash by selling these products for wholesale. There's so many different opportunities that you can take advantage of, whether it be just flipping some of the Pokemon product that we have available for really good prices compared to the rest of the market, or whether it be diversifying into other things such as Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Flesh and Blood. You'd be surprised at the amount of money you can make with very little effort. So if you want to be a part of that, highly recommend you click the link down in the description below to join the program. Speaking of reprints, as mentioned before with the UPCs, for 151, we're also going to be getting a reprint for Crown Zenith relatively soon here for the ETBs. Be on the lookout for that. I want to keep that fresh in people's mind right now, because there's a lot of things that are going to be coming up lately that you're going to want to allocate funds towards. Obviously, you've got reprints for UPC product for 151, potential reprints for other product for 151, Crown Zenith reprints, prices for Scarlet and Violet things are crashing, and Black Friday is going to be tied into the mix of this. So there's going to be an absolute ton of opportunities, so many things to pick up. We're going to talk about it in a different video on what some of my favorite pickups are, but ultimately, it's just going to be a really good time to buy. I think we're actually more or less going into a buyer's market. Of course, you're going to have high-performing sets that are going to perform really well, such as 151. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse by saying this, but future sets more than likely not going to perform nearly as well off the bat. Paradox Rift, if you've been following the price point, it's already selling $10 above wholesale if you're looking at it on TCG player prices, and some other websites were doing really good deals where you could actually buy it at wholesale. I think Forge and Fire was one in particular if you were trying to take advantage of that. I think there's been some kind of fear going on in the market, and we'll talk about this as well in another video, having to do with LGSs trying to get liquidity because of over-leveraging themselves. This is obviously a hypothetical theory that we'll dive into later, but I think Paradox, from what we've seen so far with the cards, and we don't even have the full set revealed, it looks like it's going to be in a banger set. I don't know why it's so cheap. Personally, I'm going to be picking up a decent amount of it. I'm going to be trying to open a lot of the singles and collecting them because I think they look fantastic. It's by far the best looking Scarlet and Violet set that we've seen so far, and we haven't even gotten the full set released. So I'm excited to see what that's going to look like, and I think if you want to take advantage of a lot of these storefronts dumping it at flash sale prices pre-sale, it could be a really good opportunity for you to either get in cheap now or for you to double down in dollar cost average if prices do go lower at a long-term play, just because there's so much negativity and sentiment, fear in the market. If you're wanting to skip Paradox, however, the next most exciting thing that we're going to be talking about in the future is the new shiny set we're going to be getting at the start of next year in January. Now, we don't know what is going to be in this set so far. We do know that it is going to first be released in December. I can't remember the exact date yet for when it's going to come out in Japan, but sometime in the month of December, and then it's going to come out in English a month later. We've seen dummy images, quote unquote, of shiny Charizard, but I want people to understand that this is a dummy image. This does not confirm that this is going to be one of the cards that's going to be in it. We had some dummy images a while ago for Crown Zenith, hypothetically, speculating that it was going to be a potential shiny set with alternate arts. There was dummy images of a shiny Rayquaza alternate art that was being thrown around at the time, and it ended up not coming to fruition. So please, please, please make sure that you're taking that image with a grain of salt. But it would not surprise me if they did do a shiny alternate art, because it's about time they add that combination of SIRs and shinies to the mix. It's been something we've been waiting for forever, and I think this is going to be a good time for them to do that reveal, as Scarlet and Violet hasn't once again been performing super well. So it's just the next step for them to continue the hopeful hype in riding off the back of 151's overall positive performance in the market. Let's follow that up with even a bigger banger of a set, and for it to be smack dab in the middle of Paradox 2, I think people are going to really be overlooking it when moving on to the next shiny set. So kind of unfortunate. I wouldn't compare it to a Fusion Strike situation, just because Fusion Strike is an okay set, but being in the middle of Brilliant Stars and Evolving Skies did make the set feel a little bit worse, and I think you're going to see the same thing happen with Paradox. Last thing we're going to be talking about, and just having a little bit of a market update, let's take a look at some of these Sword and Shield booster boxes. Brilliant Stars sitting around 144 as it stands, Lost Origin sitting around 136 to 140 depending upon the day, and Silver Tempest booster boxes sitting at 126 to 130 on TCG Player. These prices have been kind of ranging at this point. We had a reprint in August for these booster boxes, and for Brilliant Stars it was back in May. So if you haven't been following the trend as to why they are at these prices from their prior highs, this is why. I think they're going to go sideways for a little bit longer, but as we've seen with Sword and Shield era, it's all been performing extremely well, other than the ones that just got recent reprints. Once they've gone sideways for a little bit and the pool of supply just gets flooded into the market, these items are going to skyrocket. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but it would not surprise me in the next year or two if we did see a lot of Sword and Shield era booster boxes go for above $200. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but just looking at the overall amazing art designs that the Sword and Shield generation has brought us, knowing that it was the true first generation to introduce the amazing art designs of alternate arts. Yes, I understand back into Sun and Moon era did have alternate arts, but this is a completely new, unique design with the VMAXs and V-Stars that I think is going to allow the future of this generation to go in and be seen as one of the best generations we've seen in the trading card game of all time. So I'm going to be holding on to as I already am currently, a ton of these booster boxes, as I was able to pick up an absolute ton of them at around $100 to sub $100 from the Patreon program. Once again, if you want to take advantage of when these deals do happen and try and get in on the long term for items such as these cheap, really want to take advantage. But as far as it goes, ladies and gentlemen, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Until then, I will see you all on Tuesdays Live. Peace.